was the president of the country, then Trump considered Brazil an ally. Viewers, Prime Minister Modi is standing up to Donald Trump to the point where Donald Trump, who has the mentality, and you know it, of a bully, cannot stomach it. Modi has virtually flagged the red flag in the face of a raging bull. And viewers, in return, what we've got is a 25% tariff and a 25% penalty, which Trump says, if India doesn't behave, if Modi doesn't get in line, could be escalated. And he said that this is true even of Russia and China. For 21 days, we have a bit of a reprieve because the Americans want to negotiate. But viewers, when I came into office today, a few colleagues of mine asked me, it's not looking good for the Indian Prime Minister. Many people are saying, viewers, that his confrontation with Trump is going to cost us. Viewers, do you think the Prime Minister, who is a master at reading the national mood, is unaware? The Prime Minister, viewers, will be leading his party and his government into an election in just about 2.5, 3 months in Bihar. Does he want to lose that election because some people say that he put India in a situation with America that is bleeding us? Do you think, viewers, the Prime Minister is wanting to commit political suicide? Viewers, why is the Prime Minister sticking his neck out to the extent that he is? Precedent, viewers, tells the Prime Minister that he could have done exactly what the Congress did. Trump wants BT seeds, BT crops to be brought into our country. And the Prime Minister says, no, I will not let that happen. That will compromise the interest of the farmer. Now, viewers, the Congress party, in order to have great relations with America back in the 1990s, in fact in 1996, allowed BT seeds and the manufacturer of BT seeds, the leading, Monsanto, to come into India. Viewers, let me tell you, Modi can do exactly the same thing and say, look, the Congress did it, so have I. In fact, viewers, I don't know if you know this, but BT seeds or GM crop seeds, viewers, are a biohazard. We don't know exactly the kind of impact these genetically modified crops will have on our systems. But viewers, that didn't stop the Congress from allowing Monsanto in. The NDA under Vajpayee allowed BT cotton. But it was under UPA, viewers, that acreage of BT cotton in India grew to cover 90% of the cotton growing areas in the country. Now, I'll tell you the problem, viewers. BT seeds, once used, cannot be reused. You can't, from BT crops, evolve naturally a seed. They have to be junked. Which means, viewers, that farmers have to pay every time they have to sow for BT seeds, for GM seeds, for crops. And viewers, let me tell you that that will cost a lot. It will bleed farmers who already work with small margins. Remember, viewers, agriculture employs 45% or thereabouts of India's population, but its productivity is low. It will be even more hit. People will be forced into greater penury. So the Prime Minister is standing up on this issue, and today he said so. And he says, viewers, that I know this is going to cost me because the impression amongst the voter will be that, look, Narendra Modi landed us in a soup with our best friend America. Viewers, let me tell you, the Congress party compromised. Jairam Ramesh, who is speaking loudest today, in 2010, under pressure, he was the environment minister then, under the UPA. He had to roll back on viewers GM crops. In fact, after BT cotton, the Congress approved GM brinjal to be sown in this country. You remember back then, viewers, in 2009, 2010, the protests, the farmers were out in numbers, and then the Congress, the UPA had to roll it back. Today, why is it wanting the Prime Minister to compromise on this? Just because, viewers, it wants to prove a point. This is what the Prime Minister said today at a very important meeting. And this statement is not just a clarification of where he stands and is a message to Trump, but it also flattens completely this surrender Narendra plank that the Congress has been pushing. Listen to the Prime Minister, viewers. He said India won't compromise on its national interests come what may. Trump, after, viewers, hearing in the morning today, when he woke up, which is our evening, he goes on and threatens that I will do a lot more, and he's bragging about how much money is going to come into America because of all these tariffs, viewers. India stands firmly with its farmers. He put India first, viewers, India's farmers first. The most critical part of our economy, the most fragile part of our economy first, viewers. And he says, I know I'll pay a price. Listen.
भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा। और मैं जानता हूं व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं। मेरे देश के किसानों के लिए, मेरे देश के मछुआरों के लिए, मेरे देश के पशुपालकों के लिए आज भारत तैयार है।
The Prime Minister says, I know that I will have to pay a heavy price. Viewers, can you imagine? Can you imagine that there is somebody out there who wants to throw Modi under the bus because he's standing up for the Indian farmer? Yes, we need reforms, but not by bringing in GM crops, viewers, which can pose a biohazard to each Indian life and decimate Indian agriculture. To please whom, viewers? Some ginger-haired, wig-wearing bully called Trump? Think about it, viewers. So Modi's declaration that he knows he'll pay a heavy price is not just political rhetoric. It's a signal of sovereign resolve. Crucially, the NDA is united across the board behind the Prime Minister. Last evening, the government, speaking on behalf of all constituents, said, tariffs are unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. Extremely unfortunate move by United States. India will protect its national interests. India's imports based on market factors. Imports done with objective of ensuring energy security. Other nations also protecting their national interests. We're not doing something exceptional, viewers. China is doing it, Russia is doing it. Are they all fools? Brazil is doing it. Brazil, that has also been bracketed alongside India in the 50% category, viewers, is saying we will go to BRICS. By refusing to buckle under Washington's tariff blackmail, Modi has turned the tables. The very opposition that accused him of appeasement now finds itself mechanically parroting lines that have actually no basis. Claims Prime Minister failed to protect India from tariffs threat. The fact is, viewers, that India maintains strategic autonomy, nation first stand. Viewers, I'll take you back many years. When I was a young man in school, viewers, there was something called the Dunkel draft. It was framed by an individual called Dunkel. It would have punished India's farmers. And at that time, viewers, a Congress government crawled before the WTO. And the farmers, led by Mahendra Singh Tiket's father, hit the streets in the thousands and pressured the then Congress government to backtrack because they were holding secret talks with this American lobby. Viewers, let me tell you that today we have a situation where the opposition, led by Rahul Gandhi, is coming out and saying, and I quote him, Trump's 50% tariff is economic blackmail and attempt to bully India into an unfair trade deal. PM Modi better not let his weakness override the interests of the Indian people. It takes strength, viewers. It takes gumption to stand up to Trump, to uphold the interests of the Indian people. You have to make up your mind tonight, viewers. Are you going to be with someone who parroted what Trump said and rubbished the Indian economy? Or are you going to be with somebody who has decided, viewers, that even if it means that he will sacrifice his political capital, he will not let America's hegemony flatten our economy? Viewers, let's open this up for a conversation. I want to also leave a question in your minds. Yes, the opposition says, yes, it says that the Prime Minister must stand up to Trump, etc., ignoring the facts on the ground, of course. But has it told you what it would do if it was in the Prime Minister's place? Has it answered that question, viewers? No, it has never answered that question. So I want to open this up and I want to ask a fundamental question of the Congress representative here, or someone who speaks, is aligned with the Congress party, speaks for the Congress or the opposition's point of view tonight. And I want to bring in Mr. Akashdeep Muni, he's a professor, and I want to ask him a very simple question. When Prime Minister refuses to bow to Trump's pressure, why is the opposition still claiming he's weak? Professor Muni.
Because he's clueless.
Sorry?
Because he's clueless.
He's clueless.
Because he's
Either
clueless.
he's weak or is he clueless?
He's clueless.
So then
The
say
whole
he's
Indian
clueless,
government-
don't call him weak.
No, he's clueless. I'll prove it to you on your show.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Okay. No clear counter strategy, no demand for W2 intervention, no threat of proportionate retaliation, no tangible counterplay like tariff schedules, legal action, diplomatic coalition, nothing. Other countries like EU, China, Canada all responded to Trump tariff with counter tariffs, legal action at WTO and collective pressure. The Indian MEA, what they did, they failed to deter Trump's transactional practices. Even India did not use alliances like BRICS, G20 and SCO to build pressure. At least pressure to bana lete. As a result of this cluelessness, what is happening? The Indian rupee is falling. It is near-time all-time low, and fears that it will go more low. There is 50% tariff, and more tariff is on the pipeline. And this is not happening today. It is happening since last 6 years. In June 2019, the United States removed India from the GSP program, Generalized System of Preferences. They ended tariff-free access to $5.6 billion worth of Indian exports to the US. Unfortunately, India failed to prevent GSP. Canada succeeded in undoing it. Canada, EU, other countries, what they did, they secured tariff rollback, and India did not. India wasn't able to secure rollback. How did they do that? By putting tariff on.
Excuse me,
tariff.
Professor Muni.
On
that point.
We all back.
No, excuse me,
Modi,
on that point.
why?
Okay, one second. Professor Muni, just explain to me, which pushback did Japan do?
So आप Canada को नहीं देखोगे, EU को नहीं देखोगे, but Japan को
I'm asking you, sir. We'll take it point by point.
Why not?
I'm asking you, which pushback did the entire European Union do, sir?
The European Union put counter tariffs after the GSP.
Which counter tariffs have they put, sir?
Sir, after do you know about GSP?
Do you know excuse me, sir, do you know the European Union has got the sweetest deal because it has completely crawled instead of even, viewers, bowing, it has crawled before Trump, 15% for buying the highest amount of traded goods from Russia? You don't get that kind of concession if you stand up to Trump. So, Mr. Muni, tell me,
So are you not?
I'm asking
worried
you,
that
what
China has played a
has
role,
European
but India
Union
has
not promised to
Yet India is
invest?
the ally.
No, hang on. Is European Union interested in developing its own union, or is it developing America? How much, can you tell me the amount that both Japan and EU have pledged to invest in America? Can you tell me this, sir? Give me the number, since you've come so informed. I'll tell you the number.
I'll give you the number. I'll give you the number. Do
What
you
is
know about
Japan's
Section
investment
232?
promise?
No,
What
let
is
me ask
Japan's
you.
investment promise?
Do you know, sir?
What is Japan's investment promise?
You are worried about Japan. I am worried about India.
Okay, viewers, the point
Section
I'm trying
232.
to draw here and to your attention is that there is an attempt, excuse me, sir, excuse me. There is an attempt, viewers, here to play around with the facts. I want to bring in Sohail Seth. I'll bring in Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Dipanshu Mohan, and also Nalin Kohli. But Sohail Seth, you've heard the first salvo from Professor Muni. Tear up, he says, the turf, catch Trump by his phony ginger hair, yank it off his scalp and tell him that he actually is a blunderbuss, or the term that you used. Would that be the way forward? Do you think that will get us a deal?
The good thing is that Akashdeep Muni is a good congressperson. Because the last time someone wanted to tear up something, they did. That was the ordinance. When Manmohan Singh was actually entering the Oval Office, Rahul Gandhi was tearing up the ordinance at a press conference in Delhi. But the thing is that we're not in school here, Akashdeep. A, B. You're absolutely right. Why has India not responded? You never respond to a bully. You've seen that in the Congress party. So many times, the Gandhis don't respond because they don't need to respond to everyone. So that's a very clever, interesting negotiation strategy. Number one. Number two, today, and you are an economist, and you know what Bernard Shaw said about teachers and professors. He said, those who can do, and those who can't teach. But we leave Bernard Shaw for a while. The issue here is, today 4.9% of India's export is affected. 4.9%. 95.1% will remain unaffected. 780 billion, 40 billion is affected. What do you want, Akashdeep? You're a reasonable human being with great intellect. Would you like India to subjugate? Would you like us to be recolonized? Would you like to actually play into the hands of a bully who will demand more? You very rightly said that what has the EU done? What is Switzerland doing? Tiny little country like Switzerland, its president is going to meet Trump and say, we will invest $100 billion. Someone else is saying, South Korea is saying, we'll buy $100 billion worth of liquefied oil. Do you really want to mortgage your country? Do you really want that? Do you want the interests of the farmers, the fishermen, the agriculturalists to be dependent on one unhinged rogue called Donald J. Trump, whose only business is the art of deal? You very rightly mentioned, Akashdeep, the WTO. You know better than I do that the WTO is today as irrelevant as perhaps Shashi Tharoor, poor chap, is in the Congress.
Yes, EU, in fact, to add to that point, EU approached the WTO. What did it get them, Sohail Seth?
Nothing. WTO, as you know, is a defunct organization. It is toothless. It's much like Rahul would know the Press Council of India. So why would you want to continuously disparage our Prime Minister and our government's policy? I totally agree with you. Should we have a response? You and I are not in government. They may have a response. How will we benefit? Now, let me come to the solution. I think there are enough people in India of Indian descent with Indian capability who will rebuild brands made in India for the world. I have that much of confidence in my people. Look, I'm much older than all of you. But as I approach the older years of my life, I can tell you that I have great faith in Indian capabilities, in Indian ability. I have also great faith in the fact that we will stand up to bullies. We will not allow colonialism 2.0. We will not allow a Donald Trump to dictate our sovereign economy. And we will not allow Donald Trump to ride all over us, to trample us. That's not the India we are anymore. You know that. And that's where I would end my opening remarks. That adversity sometimes is the best lighthouse for opportunities. And let's seize that rather than always being whining and cringing and abusing each other. and self-loathing as if the world has come to an end.
Okay.
This is not Armageddon.
So let me ask this question of the professor tonight, who's also an economist, Mr. Dipanshu Mohan. Mr. Dipanshu Mohan, it's a fundamental question. What options do we have that Modi hasn't exercised? We have already, to some extent, been buying more American oil. You know this. I'm not saying that we have in any way tamped down on our purchases of Russian oil. I'm just saying that we've also begun, and not today, not yesterday, but about 7-8 months ago, we've increased the component of American oil. We made concessions on Bourbon and some other sensitive issues which matter to Trump's political constituency. You also know the numbers, and I think I can once again labor over them, but you know that our simple average tariff tax is only 16%, which is less than that of Turkey. In fact, Bangladesh is in the same vicinity, 14%, and Argentina about 13.4%. You know these facts. I don't have to tell you these facts. So, I mean, what more could we have done except to become a doormat for Mr. Trump?
Yeah, so thank you, first of all, for having me here. Well, it's the age of realignment, recalibration, and also reimagination. And as few of you have already pointed out, I think not responding to Trump in his own aggressive posturing of weaponizing tariffs or even not retaliating is a wise move on India's part. It has tried in good faith to negotiate as much as it could in the first round of trade. My submission is on two critical points, because that's the ground in which the latest tariffs have come in. The penalty that has been imposed most recently is done as a function of the frustration Trump has of his own inability to get the Russian-Ukraine situation sorted. There was no point in the last week or before that he's talking about India buying Russian oil. In fact, there was all talks about India and US having a deal. So all of this coming and suddenly is a bit of a catch-22 situation. So I don't think India should sort of read too much into that, while trying, of course, at its own level to diversify oil purchases, which I think the refiners are already doing. They're buying more crude from Middle East, West Africa, Azerbaijan, Guyana. I mean, there are a lot of diversity in suppliers for that regard. The other key question, because the Russian question is a very important
so that's a good thing, right? That we are diversifying our source of procuring oil.
So I'm with.
So you're already seeing that the government is being proactive, viewers. And Professor Muni says we're not doing enough. We're weak. We're in bed with the Russians.
I just want to complete the point, which is, so on oil we're fine. I think on trade, I must say that there is another offering. There's this 21-day window. We should definitely try one more go at our ability to get some kind of a trade partnership.
Dr. Muni, do you hear this? Professor Muni, do you hear this? We have a 21-day window.
Yes, can I reply now?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. See, Rahulji, you remember when I'll just talk politics and economics, both. Rahulji, when Prime Minister Modi ji was hugging Mr. Trump, all credit was given to him as a Prime Minister. But now when Trump is constantly berating India, isn't the Prime Minister where the buck should stop? Back in past, despite Modi-Trump and Modi-Biden summits, a trade deal that was almost ready, I'm quoting the government, in 2020, never materialized till date. India and the US still do not have a full-fledged bilateral free trade agreement. In June 2019, the United States removed India from the GSP, which I cited. This ended tariff-free access for $5.6 billion of worth of Indian exports. That is why the rupee is falling. Unfortunately, India failed to prevent this. South Korea.
Dipanshu Mohan, is that the reason why the rupee is falling?
I think, see, rupee and the rupee's own volatility has a number of factors. There is one of which is on the general.
This is Jindal University versus Delhi University viewers here. And you know who's winning. And you know who's winning. It's private education.
There is 6 rounds of negotiation between the government and US government between 2018.
Yeah, so what is wrong? Do you know that Trump had to take back some of his own tariffs that he had imposed on steel and aluminium in 2018, sir, and 2019? Do you know he caused more damage to the United States than anyone else in the world? Do you know this?
What is Akashdeep Muni saying? I'm
What is
unable
he
to
saying?
understand what he's saying.
Your show is watched by many intellects. Now let me just give me just 5 seconds.
1 minute.
5 seconds,
1
I'll
minute.
give it.
1 minute. We are not
Do you
in your
know
class,
what
so why do you want to
US
give us a
has
political
labeled India
economic lesson?
National security
In
threat.
terms, what are you saying? What are you saying, my friend? We've not understood you.
I will
keep
make you
yourself
understand
succinct.
in one word. US has classified India as
That's not
national
one word.
security
Say it in one
threat
word.
for steel and aluminium under Section 232, if you have read.
I haven't read.
So
First,
it is
when you
another
say
sanction.
use one word.
What I
Okay.
Use one word.
So hang on. Let me get in Nalin Kohli. Nalin Kohli, it appears from the logic that is being put forth by the professor that India has not been proactive, that we have not turned the screws hard enough on Trump. And there are some people who, for example, and I made some notes, they said let's tighten regulatory screws on US tech giants by invoking antitrust laws and launch deeper Competition Commission of India investigations into Google's dominance in Android. That will really hurt America. It will hurt its companies. Let's bring in data privacy legislation that can be enforced more stringently on American firms, increasing their compliance costs in India. That will really hurt them, hit the entire trade and completely push America on the back foot, revisit data localizing norms to increase their operational overheads, has also weakened Silicon Valley's global data leverage, increase digital service tax from 2% equalization levy on digital companies earning from Indian users. And there are several other things that are being proposed to hit them where it hurts, because we are not taking into account the amount of money America is making through its tech giants. So hit them there. Why isn't Modi doing that? Can you answer that question?
Let me give you my perspective and give me a few minutes. I've heard several perspectives on this show. Even I've been around a long time in the party, so I've seen a few things that have happened in the past, and that will show how India has weathered previous storms. When we tested at Pokhran, the US then had declared sanctions against India. We survived. We didn't ask them to lift the sanctions. They lifted it on its own, because they found out and learnt that in economic terms it wasn't hurting us, it hurt them. Then came COVID. In COVID, everyone said it's a mega crisis. It was the pandemic. But under Prime Minister Modi, we've not just weathered it well, we've shown the way, and we've become a stronger economy. We are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So definitely Prime Minister Modi is not clueless, as Professor Muni says. In fact, if anyone is clueless, it is perhaps that advice he should give to Rahul Gandhi, who one day accepts what President Trump is saying and says, yes, we are a dead economy. And another day says, what are you doing, Prime Minister Modi? So either they are clueless or they don't know what they are saying. Let's come back to the merits of this case. And let's look at it very dispassionately. Any negotiation, and certainly not of the scale that we are talking about, is not based on emotions and knee-jerk reactions. It's based on what our national priorities, interests are, and how much there would be a give and take, because it all comes down to trade, which is money. So essentially, it's an economic reason that drives it. This is not charity, in which you say, I'm opening my agricultural sector because I feel good about it. It's about protecting your agricultural sector, and that's what Prime Minister Modi today said. In such a situation, we have to understand that there are mutual interests that have to be there. Now, President Trump, perhaps as part of his negotiation strategy, likes to launch these tariffs, but there is a window of 21 days also, as the other professor did point out. Let us see what happens.
Okay.
India, under Prime Minister Modi, has shown that its position is we draw red lines and we stand by them. We've shown that with Pakistan, that terrorism and talks can't go, incidents, blood and water can't flow together. And now in the last case, Prime Minister Modi's government has sent a message, you do a terrorism or a terrorist act as an act of war, we will retaliate. Like that.
And trade and threats can't go. And trade and threats can't go. Coercion can't go. Okay. So let me. Okay, that's a principle stand.
I think the point
Abhijit
is
Iyer
let's
Mitra,
just wait and see how it opens up.
I'll come to you, Dipanshu Mohan. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, let me ask you, can the opposition that is so concerned with the national interest therefore explain why it was so keen on accepting Trump's verdict on the Indian economy? I can't understand this.
Well, Rahul, the problem is I don't understand anything the opposition does these days because it seems to be stuck in, well, let's not get there. But they basically going at cross purposes. I don't think even they know what they're up to right now. Classic example being some of the points made on this particular show. Let me deal with it one by one. Why didn't we use our allies? Tell me who stood by the EU when Trump went after them? Did any of the EU's allies stand by them? Did Japan is a treaty ally of America? Today, Japan has had what 36% imposed, 36 or 39% imposed on it. What happened to them? The Swiss president was in DC for the last 3 days begging. Today, he had to beat a retreat and go back to Switzerland and had 36% imposed on him. This is the issue out here. It doesn't matter what you do or don't do, this man is going to do something to you. Today was our turn, there is nothing you can do to stop it. Now, if you crawl, it becomes Munich, it becomes appeasement. Because what happens is, if you throw crumbs at a bully, they come at you with double the force the next time around. Because as we know with him, there is nothing. Tell me one country called Pakistan, which has crawled in front of Trump more than anybody else. They've had a 19% tariff placed on them, and their only manufactured goods are footballs and sex toys. Can you imagine imposing a 19% tariff on sex toys? That is what he has done. So you can even girgidafy in front of Trump, kuch nahi hone wala hai. Next, there was this thing flashing on your screen right now about, they're helping kill Ukrainians. Do you know under Annex 2, I'm going to read out this short part from Annex 2 to Executive Order 14257 under which he's imposed tariffs. Section C. The ad valorem duty imposed in Section 2 of this order shall not apply to articles that are set forth in Annex 2 to Executive Order 14257, regulating imports with reciprocal tariff to rectify trade practices that contribute to large and persistent annual US goods trade as amended. Which means if we buy Russian oil, process it and sell it to America, it is not tariffed. So America has created in this own executive order an exclusion for Russian oil itself. So much for being concerned about killing Ukrainians. I don't think enough people are pointing this out. Fourth, what is Trump doing? See, the biggest harm this is doing is to the Americans themselves. If I'm selling biryani for 100 rupees and tomorrow, the government imposes 50% tariff on that, I am not reducing my cost or my sale value to 50 rupees. You will end up paying 150 rupees to buy my biryani. So what has he done? First, he is distorting the US market in a very, very dangerous way. And market distortions bite back very hard. People do not like distorted markets. It creates inflationary pressure. Second, all the tax breaks he gave in his big and beautiful budget to his electoral base, he's clawing it all back through these excess tariffs, which the American tax-paying public will have to pay on goods that they are buying. Why is he doing that? Because he could not present a zero-deficit budget. In fact, his big, beautiful budget has created such a huge deficit. He is now trying to pay off the US debt, which is 130% of GDP, through inflation. And he needs massive inflation in order to pay it off. Now, it tells you a lot about the IQ of the MAGA crowd that they don't even understand that it's coming out of their pockets, but best of luck to them. Last point, if you'll allow me. Everybody is saying, why did Modi have to go say, ab ki baar Trump Sarkar? Why did he have to give bear hugs? Listen, there was a time not too long back before my time, but we read about it in history books. When, the USA used the USSR against Germany to get rid of Hitler. Then they used China against the USSR to get rid of the USSR. That was Kissinger going to China. Then they want to use us against China. So basically, this is a case of Truman or Roosevelt करे, Kissinger करे, or Clinton करे तो चमत्कार, Modi करे तो बलात्कार. What kind of logic is this? These people don't understand head or tail. It seems the opposition has forgotten basic economics. They have forgotten basic international diplomacy. They have forgotten the balance of interests and how it plays out.
Well,
that is why I said I am speechless, because I don't know how to come back to such obtuse, compounded, multiple annual interest stupidity like this.
Well, viewers, the choice is very clear. The choice is very clear. Either we allow America to set a precedent with India, which will be cited ad nauseum for the rest of our time, or we stand up and be correct. Yes, Dipanshu Mohan, 30 seconds, I need to move on. Yes, sir, please.
No, I just wanted to say that perhaps this is also a critical time for India to look a little bit deeper into the nature of structural reforms that are
Yeah,
needed.
of course. We can't miss this as an opportunity. That's a point well taken. But that hasn't, well, that's a long-term play. We're talking about the immediate term right now. So I'm asking you once again, on this show, since you have written for The Wire and others, do you believe that we have approached this in the right way? Yes or no? 10 seconds, sir.
Okay, I'll have those 10 seconds then. I would say yes so far, but we need to be less impassioned and more diplomatic in trying to get some kind of a deal, because going into Russia and China in terms of an economic interdependence will strategically make us weaker over time.
Over time, yes. So I think the Prime Minister has made it very clear that while at this moment in time, and he's not going anywhere, the point is India has made it very clear we believe in plurilateralism, we believe in keeping everyone happy and looking out for our own interests. Yes, the Prime Minister has talked about Atmanirbharta, which was mocked, viewers, about 5 or 6 years back. I remember a lot of people mocked it. Suhail Seth was one of those who did not. And he said that, look, that's the way ahead. We've got to negotiate these choppy waters. But a lot of people said, oh, this is going back to that Gandhian, sort of weird Swadeshi logic, this, that, the other. No, viewers, now we understand. Now we understand where the Prime Minister was coming from, because he foresaw issues such as this. Well, viewers, there is work to be done. There is an opportunity, but let's not squander it by becoming vassals once again. That's not going to help us. I need to move on, viewers, because it's very important that we look at the international dimension of this. It's not a one-way street. The Indian government has labeled Donald Trump's anti-India tariff tirade as one that fails both the test of reason and truth. Indeed, a plain reading of the facts suggests that the tariff tyranny is founded on a bankrupt logic. Trump accuses India of propping up Russia's war machine, but conveniently forgets that American LNG, tech components, and even food exports to Russia continue to surge. In fact, viewers, they have a trade in rare earth metals. Pepsi, a large number of other American majors are in the retail sector in Russia. Hypocrisy, anyone? Across global media, American double standards are being called out loudly. Sample this, viewers.
Buys more Russian oil than India does, and they have not been targeted for that. So why is India having its tariffs doubled?
As the boss says, let's see what happens. Keep in mind that we have over 50% tariffs on China already.
Right, but you could go higher. But they haven't been punished for buying Russian oil, and India is being punished.
We have
for
over 50% tariffs.
But not because
China,
of
so we don't
buying
want to get
Russian
to
oil.
a point where we actually hurt ourselves. Okay?
But
So
do you see why people would
that
be
question-
confused by that?
And I think I've given a really good answer to that. You got tariffs of 50%. We already have high tariffs on China. So I take your point. The president certainly will be working with China on that issue.
India says that the US imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
Because Trump doesn't know how to address this hypocrisy. And you heard in the first interview, Peter Navarro, who's a counselor to Trump, being completely exposed there. In fact, he concedes at one time that US is not punishing China like it is punishing India because it'll hurt America. It doesn't need TV anchors to tell us. Trump's tariff rhetoric, amplified by his aides, has collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. And let me just give you a quick account with hard facts. Viewers, in this show is called the Hard Facts. We come prepared. We put them out there so you can separate the wheat from the chaff. Viewers, Trump says India is tariff king, but India's simple average tariff on agri and non-agri goods combined is just 16%. India's 16% simple average tariff is in the same league as Bangladesh, 14.1%, Turkey 16.2%, and Argentina 13.4%. All of them, viewers, have got better deals. Trump fires India as a dead economy, but forgets India's contribution to global growth is 18%. Which is 7% more than the US in 2024-2025. Trump's son's company's real estate investment in dead economy India have grown by hundreds of millions of dollars. Trump said Indians are taking American jobs, but ignores research that shows that 163 Indian companies have invested over $40 billion in the United States, creating 425,000 direct jobs in the American economy. Indian students heading to the United States for education contributed $7 billion annually to the US economy, the largest among all international students. Imagine, viewers, the quality of American education is guaranteed by the expenditure from Indian students. And this, I'm talking about 2019, 2020. We haven't got the latest figures. Those will be more. Trump imposed 50% tariff on Brazil, even though US enjoys a trade surplus with them. So it's not just India. Trump is failing the truth and reason test. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the reason test. Trump called Canada 51st state of the United States and based his entire tariff logic on that fallacious claim, viewers. Trump slapped 30% tariff on South Africa, accusing it of conducting a, quote, white genocide, unquote, but produced photos from another country to back his allegations. The test of truth here failing. The tariffs may grab headlines, but they're costing Washington something far more valuable, credibility and the trust of allies. But the even more immediate question is, has Trump lost the moral authority to lead the free world? And viewers, I'm going to ask this question of Michael Kugelman. I'm going to ask this question of Abhijit Iyer Mitra. I'm going to ask this question of Matthew Bartlett, the Republican strategist, and also David Sofair, who is a Republican strategist. So, Mr. Sofair, let me begin with you first. Thank you for, first of all, joining our show. And I just want to ask you, is, as I pose the question, backed by a large number of facts, has Trump lost the moral authority to lead the free world on the back of these very, very apparent double standards which fly in the face of principle?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. And what we have is an ongoing negotiation for American safety and global security. You have a lot of countries have huge tariffs against the United States. So during the American Free and Fair Trade Initiative, which is what our administration is doing, we have now decided to make America safe again and the world safe again by really disarming Russia. Now, you cannot say it's a double standard with China because we also have 50% tariffs in place with the Chinese at the moment now. So hopefully the temperature of this whole situation can cool down and we can come to an amicable solution with tariffs. So we really just need to see how it's going to unfold. But when it comes to a statement like, is he credible to be the leader of the free world? I mean, that is a question that you have to let the numbers answer. So by every metric we have,
America's doing great. So that's important from a national security perspective.
You
and from
talked
a global
about
one as well.
you talked about global security, right?
Absolutely.
Mr. Sofer, tell me something.
Sure.
The Biden administration has let it be known that it was okay with India purchasing, not directly, India doesn't purchase directly. It follows international governance norms by picking up, its oil marketing companies pick up Russian oil from the open market under the cap that has been put down by the sanctions regime. You know this? Now, had India not done this, global oil prices would have neared $100 a barrel, which would have endangered global security because it would have pushed up global inflation. Am I right or am I wrong, sir, on fact?
Well, I mean, I think that, the idea that that could happen, I'm not sure about, Saudi.
So how can you say that? How can you say that? You know that Saudi oil, Gulf oil had to be diverted to the EU and other consuming countries. India is the second largest purchaser of oil. Had we been in the market, prices would have gone up.
The EU has still been actively purchasing Russian oil, so let's face that one. The EU has still been actively purchasing Russian oil, whether it's Germany and other countries. So
Gas.
that's still happening.
Russian gas, LNG and PNG. They've been.
So that's also,
there's a difference. There's a difference. That's what I'm saying. There's a difference.
No,
Let's
not
be
really.
sure
When
about
you
our
think
facts.
about it, not really, because the money goes to the same place, and the money goes to fund war.
So then tell me, then on that point, tell me, by punishing India the most for doing exactly what the EU is doing, sir, are you not weakening, excuse me, are you not impacting the balance of power in South Asia? India is supposed to be your bulwark against China. But China has got a 90-day moratorium.
Sure. Well, the tariffs haven't been implemented yet because, as you have a 30-day window as well. So in regards to the tariffs, these are ongoing discussions. They're very fluid. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So Mr. Sofer is conceding that there is an inbuilt, viewers, double standard. China gets 90 days, supposed to be the greater threat to America, and an ally, a regional ally, one second, sir, part of Quad, is being punished with the highest global tariff rate. Viewers, what does that tell you about America's so-called principled diplomacy? And what does that tell you about America's ability to win the trust of its own allies? Look at what it's done to Canada. Now, I want to bring in Michael Kugelman, I want to bring in Mr. Iyer Mitra, and I also want to bring in Mr. Matthew Bartlett. So, Mr. Kugelman, my question was, and I brought in a lot of facts, I don't know if you were paying attention to my introduction, establishing the inherent hypocrisy in the American position, not just with respects to India, but with other nations around the world. Do you think Trump is doing a disservice to what is known as principled diplomacy, that a leading power of the free world is expected to exhibit?
Well, the short answer to your question is yes, absolutely. I mean, we know that President Trump is, among other things, undiplomatic. And I would certainly acknowledge that the treatment that he is meting out to India is certainly hypocritical. India is being singled out for treatment that China is not being singled out for, even though, as you've noted, China is also a significant importer of Russian oil. And as I was reading over the executive order the other day, reading about this new 25% tariff on India, I was thinking, okay, where's the executive order for China? And I think that we could talk about why India is being singled out for this type of treatment. One of my views is that perhaps for President Trump, it's an issue of him feeling aggrieved, not liking the ways that India's government has treated him, perhaps not being happy that the Indian government has not let him claim credit for the role he claims that he played in the India-Pakistan ceasefire. But then again, it's just a very difficult leader to, as an analyst, it's very difficult to try to read him and figure out what is going on in his mind. We can't rule out him backing away once again from these tariffs. He's paused these reciprocal tariffs once. I suspect that soon enough, Indian and American negotiators will once again come to the table a bit later this month to try to reduce these tariffs. It might be too late at that point. But yes, I mean, short answer to your question is that I think that, unfortunately, President Trump has really sabotaged and really ruined the U.S.-India strategic partnership. That is reversible, for sure, but this is the worst point that the U.S.-India relationship has been in over the last 20 years or so of strategic partnership.
Let me bring in Mr. Bartlett and Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, you've listened to two analysts from the United States taking different points of view here. Where do you come in on this debate? Do you believe that Trump has undermined, the international rules of engagement, one, two, compromised America's own standing in the world as an adherent of what is known as the rule-based order?
Look, the so-called rules-based order is, it exists somewhere in the EU and the Atlantic between the EU and the US. You look at the narrative coming out from the other three continents, it's almost always that there is no rules-based order and they're interpreted as and when you want. There is a constitution with the rules, but the interpretation, there is no common judge. Nobody listens to the judge at any rate, and these goalposts are shifted. And when it comes to Trump trash talking, that's perfectly fine. Every leader trash talks at some level to appease their voter base. My issue is with what he does. There was this mention of America being security provider. Security provider to whom exactly? To India? Not in my memory. A defense equipment provider? Yes. Security provider? Absolutely not. Let me know in which particular conflict America has balanced or come to our specific assistance when we've been at a disadvantage. I don't recollect that happening. So for Indians to be talking about security provider, America being a security provider, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. But America has been weakening its position. See, the hegemon is cooperative. Hegemony is given to it willingly by most people. And America hasn't done very well, be it Biden, be it Trump. The Biden administration screwed over a lot of the global commons, investments, SWIFT, etc., with what they did to Russia, which is, of course, why, India doubled down on its sovereign currency transfer and things like that, because we no longer trust the SWIFT system. We no longer trust those international bodies and things like that. Trump is doing something different. The only good thing coming out of it is that the biggest people getting conned by Trump are his own voters. He gave them a huge tax break, what he calls a huge tax break in his self-described big and beautiful budget. He's clawing it all back through inflationary pressures that the tariffs are going to impose on the American consumer. Let us not forget. India is not bearing that. It's the American consumer bearing that. And most importantly, what happens there is when you impose these kind of differential tariffs, you are distorting your market. Market distortion is a very, very dangerous and unpredictable thing. You can't fix it. It has all kinds of secondary and tertiary effects. Best of luck to him. I wish America on Trump, and I wish, Trump on America.
Okay. Well, let me bring in Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett, I'll come back to the hypocrisy question. Simple, straightforward one. Why hasn't China been penalized like India has been for buying Russian oil? Why has the EU not been penalized for purchasing Russian oil products, fossil fuel products?
Like everything with these tariffs, it is a situational, case-by-case basis. You can claim that some are different treatments, and you can also look at, this is the beginning of the dialogue, and this is a response to, a meeting with Steve Witkoff and Putin. And there are even reports right now that certain places in India are ceasing today buying Russian oil. So it is a response. You can say it is not fair. The world is very unfair.
One second. No, hang on. Look, hang on. Just a minute. If the world is so unfair, then America should be okay with China resorting to unfair practices. But it's not. It makes the most noise about China beating the system or cheating the system. You can't have it both ways, my friend.
I'm not sure how you would agree. 100%. President Trump is president of the United States of America. He has not been elected quote unquote leader of the free world. He is not here to dictate. He's here to advance American interests, just like Modi will advance Indian interests, just like Xi will try to advance Chinese interests. That is the tension. The tariffs are a tool, whether it is economic, whether it's diplomatic, and this is arguably a reorganization.
So if he's not there, Mr. Bartlett, contradiction.
To environment.
Okay, contradiction. If he's not there to lead the free world, why is he bothered about a Russian-Ukrainian war? Why is he bothered about what India and Pakistan are doing? Why is he bothered about what Israel and Iran are up to? Why does he bother? Why does he care if Iran has nuclear weapons or it doesn't have nuclear weapons?
That is always the question. Why is that in our interest? He came largely to power around some of those questions where the American public has questioned.
No, but you said that he's not been. No, so are you saying that he promised his base that he would be global cop, that he would end conflicts, so therefore he would bring world peace and lead the free world? Is that what you're saying? But today he's being selective about it. I can't understand. There's a contradiction in what you're saying.
I don't see it at all. No, global security is part of the U.S. interests. Being engaged around the world and overextended is not. It is a fine line, yet it is clearly defined in Trump's policies and certainly among his voting base. So global security, he has been an advocate for. Ending wars, he's been a force for peace. Now we're talking about, Russian oil. I'm not sure you want to be on the end of defending buying Russian oil and fueling a war.
Why is the European Union buying it?
That is a great question.
So where's the answer?
Because they don't have an alternative. That's the answer.
No, hang on. So neither do we. Simple. What do you think? We're here for charity. We're here to be made cuckoos out of.
Sure, no, there's
not at all.
Oh, come on.
Not at all.
I mean, come on. What kind of a response is that, Mr. Sofa? Come on. I mean, you think that the EU has no option, but India has plenty of options.
Is the notion India should continue to fund Russia?
No, Mr. Bartlett, India doesn't. India doesn't. I'm asking you a fundamental question. Answer me this. Why hasn't the EU and China been slapped? If that is such a big concern, if it is such a moral red line that India has crossed, why is it that the EU doesn't have a penalty, number one? Why is it that China doesn't have a penalty on them? It's a simple question, sir.
The president today said China absolutely could be facing a very similar conversation. Again,
where?
When? Imminently. These conversations are happening around the world.
Hang on. Why wasn't? No, hang on. Who's the bigger purchaser of Russian oil?
War machine. Are you saying you should fund Russia's war machine? Simple yes or no.
Should the EU be? Should EU be? Should EU be? Hang on. Should EU be? Should EU be purchasing? No. So where is the action on the? No. Where is the action on the European Union? Where is the action on the European Union? You see, viewers, this is exactly what I'm saying. Trump is scared of China. China told Trump, you want to mess with us? We'll increase tariffs. We're not going to give you rare earth metals. And you know what happened to Trump? Viewers, he chickened out. Taco. That's exactly what happened. Trump chickened out. He didn't have there is a phrase. He didn't have the gumption to stand up to China and hold on to that 145% tariff line. He couldn't do it, viewers. Because he's a chicken.
No, because we're heavily reliant on the Chinese.
I mean, come on, you haven't been able to answer this question. It's imminent. It's going to happen. Why hasn't it happened? He's such a decisive, big, tough guy.
Sure,
why hasn't it happened?
Now in real time, we'll come down on China and
in time. Look at this, viewers. The waffling. In time, we'll do it. We'll do it whenever. You see, my puff, my little hairstyle gets a bit messed up by Trump. We'll do it. Oh, come on, my dear friend. It just tells you that Trump doesn't have the guts to take on China. It doesn't have the guts, viewers, at the end of the day, to mess with the European Union. And that's why we have a situation where, viewers, he's picking on a soft target, an ally. That's the fundamental point. I leave it to this.
This is News 18 Network. India's India's largest news network.
The political temperature in India is rising sharply in the wake of US President Donald Trump's announcement of a steep 25% tariff hike on Indian imports. So this is the additional 25% that one's talking about. This brings the total punitive duty to a staggering 50%. This has now triggered a fierce backlash, not just diplomatically, but also politically here at home. The opposition, led by the Congress party, has launched a scathing attack on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, called the tariff an economic blackmail, accusing the US of trying to bully India into an unfair trade deal. He also ended up warning the Prime Minister that Prime Minister Modi must not let his weakness override the interests of the Indian people. Congress leaders have also invoked the legacy of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, urging Prime Minister Modi to learn from her courage in standing up to the American pressure instead of defaming her.
I see. Well, I mean, I don't think that's particularly good news for us, but obviously if that takes our total tariffs to 50%, then that's going to make our goods unaffordable to a lot of people in America. And in particularly when you're looking at these percentages, you have to compare them with the tariffs being levied on some of our competitors. And I'm afraid if you look at people like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, even Bangladesh and Pakistan have lower tariffs than us, then ultimately people will not be buying goods from us in America if they can buy them cheaper elsewhere. So that's not very good for our exports to America. This means we need to very seriously diversify to other countries and other markets which may be interested in what we have to offer.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी को ये बात 10 साल पहले सोचना था कि हमें अपने किसानों के हित के लिए, खेती-बाड़ी के लिए, दूध और दूध के बने हुए तमाम पदार्थों को लेकर के हमें हमेशा चिंतित रहना चाहिए और प्राथमिकता पर हमें अपने हर सेक्टर का ध्यान रखना है। जो लोग ये दावा करते थे कि दुनिया में सबसे मजबूत रिश्ते हैं, कोई देश ऐसा नहीं छूटा होगा जहां पर भारत को सम्मान न मिला हो, उसके बाद आज ये कहना पड़ रहा हो सरकार को, तो ये बड़े दुखद है क्योंकि हम फॉरेन पॉलिसी पर पूरी तरह असफल रहे हैं और जिस तरह लगातार पाबंदियां लगती जा रही हैं, ये कहीं ना कहीं हमारा देश संकट में है, अर्थव्यवस्था संकट में है, किसान संकट में है, नौजवान संकट में है, पूरा चौतरफा हमारा भारत घिर गया है।
Let me take this across to my colleagues Arunima and Pallavi, who are now with us on the broadcast. Arunima, coming to you first, the exact demand of the opposition. Are they calling in for an all-party meeting? What is it that they are trying on doing when they are attacking the government and in turn the Prime Minister over what they are suggesting to be a failed foreign policy on part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Yes, Parliament is in session, so the opposition wants to utilize that platform to have a discussion on what is happening. There have been multiple, statements given as well. Hibi Eden, for example, the Congress member of Parliament from Kerala, all the coastal areas are concerned because, shrimp industry, for example, is going to suffer the most. Ecuador, Guatemala, these are competitors. And if Indian shrimp industry has to face a 50% tariff, then their good becomes unaffordable for people in the United States. So that's a point that these MPs are raising. They're also saying that, for example, Jairam Ramesh, he spoke about hug diplomacy. Hug diplomacy is what he called it, saying everywhere you went, you said this person was your friend, you gave them a tight hug, but clearly that form of diplomacy is not working. Abhishek Banerjee too has taken potshot. You heard Akhilesh Yadav from Samajwadi Party also. They're all questioning that this line of foreign policy where personal charisma of the Prime Minister was showcased clearly is not working as far as Donald Trump is concerned. So they are saying India must stand strong and not given to this economic blackmail, as Rahul Gandhi labelled it. But at the same time, they also want to utilize the parliamentary forum to have a threadbare discussion on what the government's plan is. But things are in such a delicate position. I do not think government will be in a position to lay its cards on the floor of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. It's a delicate situation currently.
Okay. And Pallavi, Rahul Gandhi calls it economic blackmail on part of America. But when the Congress goes ahead and says take a leaf out of the Indira Gandhi playbook, why bring in history? When the BJP or the NDA goes on to do it, raking in
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.